According to a new survey, 70% of American millennials say they'll likely vote socialist, and 1 in 3 of them view communism favorably. This as positive opinions about capitalism has dropped. Given that the top site read by millennials is BuzzFeed, no wonder they think Pol Pot is inedible. But we've been down this road before, where we mock millennials for their ignorance over systems that have killed as many people as cholera. But maybe it's on us. Somewhere along the line, we broke our commitments to transfer the truths of history to incoming Earthlings. You can't blame young people for forgetting stuff you never taught them. And although socialism's a sweet idea, there's no college course called Intro to Sweet Ideas that kill millions. 2 analogies. We used to know that vaccines save millions of lives, but once measles is nearly wiped out, what happens? We forget and start talking about vaccines as an option, like a sunroof. Then measles return. The horrible effects of socialism and communism seem remote, like a hangover you had from tequila back when you were 16. You threw up for 2 days and swore never again. But in a year, you do. Humans can forget the things that nearly kill them. In the same survey, 72% of all Americans wrongly believe communism killed under 100 million people in the last 100 years. It's more, over 100 million people killed by something that many people today see as nice. Given how modern media and academia deem humans as disposable hazards on an overcrowded planet that will certainly end in 10 years, maybe that's why they romanticize this awful stuff. Thin the herd, as they say. Jesse, you're a fan among millennials.
I am.
What would you tell them?
I would tell them that the socialism in Scandinavia, that success story, is a complete and utter myth. The Scandinavian countries are ranked some of the top capitalist free market economies in the entire world. They have a very generous welfare system because they have an amazing capitalist system with low taxes and low regulation. The Scandinavian countries were going on a socialist route until about 40 years ago when the economy started tanking. They kicked all the politicians out and they slashed the estate tax, corporate taxes, income taxes. They have school choice there. They don't have a lot of regulations. Unions are not very tough. There is no minimum wage laws in these countries. So they can afford this great health care system there that takes care of everybody because they don't get involved and overregulate and overly tax these companies and these individuals' income. Now, have you ever heard a groundbreaking result from research and study in the healthcare industry in the Scandinavian countries? No. All the groundbreaking medical research happens in America because we have the freedom we have today.
Well, I would say to this. You have young people in this country who feel that the system's been rigged against them, and I would just advise everyone listening, hey, Trump benefited a lot from this in terms of older people thinking, hey, this system is rigged against me. But young people say, hey, you know, why am I paying all these high bills for school? Why is the healthcare system so bad? Why are so many schools,
you got the loan,
especially not good schools? And so why is that? So they don't see Venezuela. They don't see all the GOP fear-mongering. What they see is Denmark, Scandinavia. And they say, hey, these people have good health care. These people have good schools, less income inequality, and more opportunity. By the way,
less opportunity. They have less opportunity.
No, they have more opportunity.
They're small countries.
By the way, when it comes to a happiness index, all through the world, the happiest countries are these countries, the Scandinavian countries.
Then why does everybody want to move to America? Why? No one's moving to Denmark and Norway and Finland. They're all moving here.
Before Kennedy explodes into a giant pumpkin?
I would challenge that assertion that these are the happiest countries in the world. The fact that Americans may be less happy is their economic mobility has essentially been slashed and shackled. The president and Republicans are half right. Yes, you have to cut taxes. People have to be able to take more of their money home, and that's what improves consumer confidence and allows people to spend more money and hire more workers for their small businesses. And that's an incredible thing. And I think socialism actually has a better PR person, and people who embrace capitalism have to marry it to creativity, because that's the best thing about America. If you have good ideas, you are not strangled by a cultural caste system. And by the way, some of the countries that you idealize are actually very homogenous.
Yes.
And it's true. Very
But
difficult
it's also
to be...
true that the big companies like the Googles and the Amazons in this country are strangling up, making it harder for small businesses
that's because
to move
of crony capitalism.
Well, that's what's going on. That's what the young people see as a rigged system.
That's antithetical to freedom, but we need more freedom. And by the way, my mom came over on a boat from Romania. Her parents took 3 kids and 1 suitcase because they had to outrun the commies.
Yeah.
And their country was decimated by socialism and communism. And those are real stories. And those are people whose private property was taken away by force, and they had to craft all new dreams, and they did that here. My grandparents sent all 4 of their kids to college, 3 of whom served in the Navy.
That's the American dream, but I don't think the young people are talking about state ownership of major industries.
Well, Martha, let's get you. Let's let Martha speak.
Many of the younger people on this spectrum have grown up in a period of 10+ years of economic expansion through no fault of their own. They don't actually understand what it's like to be in an economy that's difficult. They didn't grow up during the Cold War. They don't understand what happened in October under President Kennedy. They have a lack of knowledge. I think, to your point, we need to require more of these civics lessons that also sort of clue people in on, the pluses and minuses of some of these economic systems. I mean, I would recommend that, people love to do a semester abroad, exchange programs. Let's send kids to places like Venezuela where they can learn, or Cuba, where they really can see firsthand what it is like to experience those places. It might also be a good idea to have those exchange work the other way so that some of the children in those countries could experience what capitalism offers, because I think they're, I love these kids. Some of them are my own, but they're living in love.
They are.
And you need to experience the other side to understand what
you didn't raise a communist, did you, Martha?
Oh my gosh!
Jesse, that's going to happen to you. One is raising Republicans. You're going to raise liberals. I can see it. All right.